You are live.
I think I understand the strategy now. I'm a pretty sharp guy. I'm a political junkie. I've been watching the speeches and watching the the virtual Democrat National Convention. And as we head into tonight, preparing to hear from the cognitively challenged nominee, Joe Biden, I think I understand the strategy now, Turtle Boy and Dave, is have so many dreadfully dull speeches that by comparison, he looks okay. I mean, they are trying to lower the bar for Sleepy Joe, and they have done it because I'm not sure how much you watched last night. I know I on a normal night, Dave can't stay awake past 9. That's watching right. This, trying to stay awake till 11 was a challenge. I can't believe how bad, and I guess it's because there was no audience clapping, cheering, fawning, and obviously the media wasn't there clapping, cheering, fawning over the big stars of the party: Hillary, Liz, Pelosi, and then Obama, who was awful. Did you watch? And did you watch?
According to you, according to woke Twitter, it was powerful.
We'll get to that.
Oh yeah,
we'll get to the most embarrassing tweet from a political analyst I've ever read. We're going to get to that, but I'm curious because I don't like the guy. I didn't like him as president, but I always thought he was a good speaker, especially when he had a teleprompter. He needs not just a teleprompter. He needs people. He needs an audience fawning over him, which he usually has. And in this case, he didn't. He was in an empty hall or whatever in Philadelphia. I'm not sure why he left Martha's Vineyard. His wife wouldn't refuse to leave Martha's Vineyard. Why did he?
I guess they just like using fossil fuels. What other explanation could there be?
Oh, right. Those swing voters in Pennsylvania, he won them over because
Philadelphia, especially.
Oh, right. The big
Trump. That's Trump country right there.
The fracking capital of Pennsylvania, Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
But
why can't you digitally put like fans in the room with them and just do fake cheers? Because that's what would happen anyway, right?
They did some of that. Yeah. And it Well, I don't know if it backfired, but it's comical. Someone caught them. They had the little windows for all the fans, who were cheering. And there's duplicates. There's a bunch of people in there twice. It's supposed to be like 30 people. And not a big deal, of course, but can you imagine if Trump or Pence did that and they said, wait a second, they can't even get 30 people to sit there for a Zoom call? You can see it. You'll see it on Twitter. There's someone circled all the duplicates, which is kind of funny, especially from a group that always criticizes Trump for exaggerating the size of his crowds. I think they exaggerated the size of their Zoom call. But tell me I'm wrong. Obama's the most overrated public speaker I've ever seen, and which is easy to do because the media fawns over him and makes it sound like he's Churchill.
Jerry, no matter what he said, though, you weren't going to like it. Be honest.
Well, I would give him credit. I wouldn't like the content, but if it were indeed okay.
What was different about this speech than any other Obama speech?
It was flat. It was cliches. And by the way, it was angry, which I understand. He hates Trump and Trump hates him. And he was naming his name, which is unusual for a president to talk about his successor. And he was saying things like he was criticizing Trump for enriching himself, using the office of the presidency to enrich himself. This is a guy who just bought a $12 million mansion on Martha's Vineyard, who not more than the Clintons, but more than just about anybody.
Yeah, I was going to say, who hasn't used the White House to enrich himself?
Trump hasn't. He's lost hundreds of millions in business because
that's true. But you know what I mean? Like a lot of these people, the book deal always comes after this. Like being president is very lucrative after you leave the presidency. Like you're guaranteed to make millions of dollars a year doing nothing.
Well, no one. You can't. No one more than Biden. Biden.
All right, do you think Jimmy Carter's collecting Social Security right now?
No, but I don't think he's got a fraction of the money that Clinton has, or Obama, or Biden.
How is he still alive? By the way, that's amazing. That's an underreported story that Jimmy Carter's still alive.
I heard Wolf Blitzer give a disclaimer and said before or after Carter spoke. I didn't even watch Carter's speech, but he said, I have to give a disclaimer. He's like a good friend. I spent a lot of time with him this summer. I'm like, you spent a lot of time with a 90-whatever-year-old guy.
What were you doing?
I don't know.
What do you do with Jimmy Carter? Like,
Is he still building houses and doing the?
he hasn't been president for 40 years.
That's
40.
amazing. That's amazing.
Barack Obama was like 40 years old when he got elected president.
It is hard to believe if Biden wins and he's still in the lead. If Biden wins, when he takes office, he'll be older than Reagan was when he left office. And we think of Reagan as like the oldest guy, and he was
not even close.
I mean,
like Trump is older than Reagan was. Trump's the oldest president in American history.
Right.
Yeah.
And he's.
And Biden would be like literally 8 years older than Trump was when he first took office.
And he's not one of those spry, 70, almost 78-year-olds. He's just not. Although we will see tonight, here's what I'll give Obama credit for. It was live. His wife taped her speech 2 weeks ago. And didn't even know who the VP
Queen
was going to be.
Queen, she slayed. I mean, there was nothing that Michelle Obama couldn't. I've never seen an obsession with a politician like I have with Michelle Obama. Why is she not the vice presidential candidate?
It's a good question. Oh, I'll tell you why, Aiden. She hates politics.
Oh, she hates. Sure, she does.
Yeah, I love that.
That made me laugh when I heard that.
She gives the most. She gives the most political speech you'll ever hear from a first lady. I mean, a former first lady. You'll hear Melania will talk about, the children and, literacy or helping, whatever, single family homes. I mean, it'll be some feel good cause, and she won't attack anybody because that's not her style. Just like Laura Bush wouldn't attack anybody, but the sainted one, Michelle Obama, she will attack anyone. She is vicious, and I agree with you, man. She would have been a huge boost to the ticket.
I've just never seen an obsession with a human being as much as the left is obsessed with Michelle Obama. Strong, poignant, stunning, brave. Like
beautiful.
The words that they use to describe this woman, it's a freaking cult. Like, it's crazy. The cult of Michelle.
And she plays so well with the younger vote too. I mean, even just like launching that podcast with Spotify is like, I don't know. It is amazing that they didn't go with her. That's wild.
They're making a fortune. I saw the estimate from Netflix. It was like 30 to 50 million. The two of them, Michelle and Barack, they are grabbing it with both hands. Maybe their goal is to end up with more money than Bill and Hillary, and they might, man, because they have a huge audience, a huge following. You're right.
I'll tell you one thing, though. This whole convention, I've been down on Trump. I've been predicting Biden will win for quite some time now.
Yep.
I'd say it's back to a coin flip now at this point. This convention is supposed to give you a bump. Conventions give you a bump. It's done the opposite with Democrats. They're losing in polls. They're losing in Vegas odds and stuff like that because this is their big week and they are just failing. Like, this online thing is not working, and at least Republicans can watch it now and they have the advantage of going second. They realize what's not working and everything basically.
Tell you what they're going to do is they're going to have some kind of piped in noise. It just feels so lifeless. And I'm telling you, I tweeted this, and you know where I'm coming from. I'm not going to tell you how wonderful Liz Warren is. And you weren't here yesterday when we talked about it. It was when you first found out that she was caucusing with the Native American caucus. Didn't you feel like it was, the Onion or Babylon Bee?
I did. I'm like, you can't be serious. No. What are they thinking? What are they doing right now? No.
It's amazing. But I've watched all the big speeches, and I've seen some of the daytime stuff, during the day when the real radicals show up. Linda Sassour is there, and the young LGBT, radicals who wanted to fund the police and open the border.
People.
These are the base of the party, and they speak during the day. They try to keep them under wraps as much as possible. You got to know where to find them to see what the real agenda of this ticket is. But I sat through all three women, the has-beens of the party, Liz Warren, Nancy Pelosi, and Hillary Clinton. They're all angry. They all hate Trump, obviously, but it wasn't a good look. No cheering, no energy. Liz in that classroom, she was in a classroom, and behind her on the wall, it said BLM.
Good Lord. That's the other thing. It's like they are really shoving Black Lives Matter down your throat. I mean, I guess that was to be expected, but I think if they had done this 2 months ago, it would have been a lot more effective. I don't think Black Lives Matter is nearly as popular as it was back in June and stuff like that. I just, it's not working out. They're not, their entire thing. I'm watching this last few days. I'm like, do any of these people like this country? They all hate it. What's their problem?
A great question. It's a great question. They never say, you know who said it? The only guy I've seen say it is Andrew Cuomo. Said this is the greatest country because he said like a year, 2 years ago, said, MAGA, he said this country was never great, and he got vilified for it, even from the left. So he made a point before he was talking about his book that he's written. He's already written a book about a wonderful job he did murdering senior citizens. It's like, reading a book by Manson or John Wayne Gacy, a guy, who's going to, and by the way, are you not allowed, isn't it against the law to capitalize on your crimes, when you write a book to make a profit? But
he didn't commit any crimes, Jerry. He's a goddamn hero, according to CNN.
He said it was beautiful, but he said this is a great country, and it stood out because you're right. The rest of them don't say it. All they do is talk about systemic racism and oppression. Structural, all that. Yeah. But these speeches were awful. And then it built up to Obama. And I said, you know what? They weren't that bad. They were better than he was. And then I'll say this for Kamala. I can't stop saying Kamala. It's Kamala. It's, see?
Carmela.
Yeah. Kamala was better than Barack Obama. I mean, most of them were. But she comes across as kind of, angry,
fake. She came off in the debates like she's the most Hillary-like. Is she not? I mean, she's the one that reminds, like Elizabeth Warren never really reminded me of Hillary. Kamala does very much so.
Yeah,
it shows literally California Hillary.
Well, right. She threw a shot. She had a little jab last night.
I have fought for children and survivors of sexual assault. I fought against transnational criminal organizations. I took on the biggest banks and helped take down one of the biggest for-profit colleges. I know a predator when I see one.
This was 1 day after, 24 hours after Bill Clinton was the featured speaker in this very
Do you think anyone could ever get justice in a courtroom with Kamala Harris if that's how she looks at things? She just looks at you and she goes, well, I know a predator when I see one, so right. You're guilty. This woman was in charge of law enforcement. That's crazy.
It's scary, and I know the Republicans aren't going to attack her from the right on criminal justice because they don't want to do that. They're going to portray her as a radical leftist, but she knows a predator when she sees one, and she's sharing a stage with Bill Clinton. But if you want to see the mean girl that is Kamala Harris, go back and watch her with Kavanaugh. And keep in mind that Kavanaugh was 100% innocent. It was all made up, and she doesn't care.
Not in their minds, it wasn't.
But they know it. I mean, in her mind, if you were to sit there quietly, have a glass of Chardonnay with Kamala tonight, do you think she would admit, or maybe a couple glasses, she would admit that it was all political, that she knows Kavanaugh did nothing?
No, all you have to do is look at Tara Reid, and that tells you everything you need to know. The second, all it took was a woman making an accusation against a Democrat, Joe Biden, a high-profile one at that. Then they just completely abandoned Believe Women. They just no longer existed.
Although at the time she was asked about it, and she said she believed Tara Reid. She said she believed her, which is going to be played on Republican commercials, campaign commercials.
Was it Tara Reid she believed? I thought she said that she believed like some of these other women that said they were uncomfortable with getting their hair touched and stuff like that.
I think the Tara Reid was what prompted the question, but you're right. She answered it with generality. Yes, they, I believe them. They deserve to be heard or whatever. But she was asked about this specifically about Biden. It was about her running mate, and she said, "I believe the women. They should get the chance to speak." Which is going to be hard to shake if she ever goes out in public. And by the way, every day Trump is campaigning. Like he's in Pennsylvania today. He's campaigning. He went to 4 states yesterday or 2 days ago, and there was 3 Midwest states. It was like Wisconsin, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Arizona in one day. And Trump and Biden will still not leave Wilmington, Delaware. He left the basement. he shared the stage with Kamala, and they didn't touch. They just kind of came near each other, when they 2 days ago.
Yeah.
And they each had their own podium, which was disappointing because it hurts Joe because he didn't get to sniff her hair. He does not like being in a room with a woman and not being able to sniff her hair.
How does he know what it smelled like then? It has to be driving him nuts. Like, damn it,
why
I need to
didn't
smell
they
her
get
hair.
together? And there was some media people there. You could see them. You could see the tops of their heads because they were all in their knees. But why can he go out in public in Wilmington, Delaware, but he can't go to Milwaukee? They blow off Milwaukee completely where they're supposed to be appearing. She can fly from wherever, Washington to Delaware, or take the train to Delaware, but they can't just go to Milwaukee. Why do they have to remain hunkered down in Delaware?
I don't, I guess they like hurting small businesses in Milwaukee. Maybe they don't want to win swing votes. I don't know.
It's again, a big contrast because, and maybe Trump will get infected. Maybe it's a bad move, but he's everywhere still. Maybe he'll get the virus, and then things will really get crazy.
It's kind of crazy he hasn't gotten it yet.
It's a good. Well, no one.
Just got it, right? I mean, some other everybody gets it. It seems like
it was in the White House. You're right.
Yeah,
See, I think Trump would, if he got it. He's so.
He's not in peak shape as much as the doctors would tell you.
He's not young, but don't you feel like he thinks that he could beat it, and then he?
In his mind, he might beat it mentally.
What would happen to the stock market if Donald Trump got COVID-19? Like the stock didn't Penn stock went down because Dave Portnoy tweeted out a sick video of himself yesterday. What would happen if the president got COVID?
I'll tell you what the president would say. He'd say the same thing Portnoy said. He says, "You think a virus is going to beat me? Yeah, virus doesn't stand a chance against me." And Portnoy's tongue in cheek, but Trump would be sincere. He would mean it.
I mean, it wouldn't be the first time a president has been incapacitated by like Woodrow Wilson, Jerry, history lesson, for like the last 3 months of his presidency he didn't appear. He was so freaking sick. He literally sat in his bedroom and never came out, and his wife did all his speaking appearances for him. I don't think Trump's going to let Melania talk, but he would survive. He'd be fine. Everybody gets cold. We need to normalize commie cold. That's what I've been saying. Normalize it. When they keep talking about all these cases, so many people have it. It's not leprosy, folks. It's okay to get COVID. You'll be good.
Saying the same thing. I'm saying the same thing, Aiden. The cases are good. Cases means you get through it. And if you're a college kid and you get it, it's like mono. Remember, I had mono just before going to college. Like
how'd you get that?
And it kicked the crap out of me. I had it badly, but at least I got it over with.
Details? How'd you get mono?
How'd I get it?
Yeah, how'd you get it?
I don't know. Why?
Isn't that the French kissing disease?
We didn't do contact tracing in those days. I'm not sure how I got it.
Okay. He doesn't want to be rude. He doesn't want.
Okay.
He doesn't want to about it.
Gotcha. Okay, carry on.
You got it over with. You can't get it again. That's another one of the scare tactics you're getting from the Trump haters is, you never know, you could get it again. They know you can't go get it again, but they're going to pretend that we don't know because you need as much fear as possible. They're selling fear, but you're right. I think someone before November 3rd, someone's going to get it, either Trump or Biden or Ruth Bader Ginsburg or Nancy Pelosi or Mitch McConnell. There's a lot of old, vulnerable people. But here's what other people think is when you're 75 or 80 that you're going to die automatically. And that's not even true. I have a friend whose father got it in a soldier's home up in Maine. Mm-hmm. And he's 95 and he beat it. And you want to know the best part? He doesn't want to live anymore. He's 95. He lost his wife years ago, and he's a true believer, and he wants to go be with his wife in the afterlife. So he didn't even have a lot of fight in him, and he beat it. The chances of you dying, and you know the numbers probably better than I do.
Yeah, over 85 is still 20%.
20
odds are that you die. 80% you live.
Right. 80% chance of living. Yeah. So here's would be wild though. Trump got it, quarantined for 2 weeks and came back cockier than ever. He doesn't have to wear a mask.
I beat COVID shirt or something like that.
Right. A hat that said I beat COVID. I bet Sleepy Joe couldn't beat COVID.
I challenge Sleepy Joe to get it right now. Watch, my immune system's much, much stronger than Sleepy Joe's. He couldn't handle COVID. Trust me.
I have the best immune system. The
Best.
Just tell me
Top,
the best.
tops.
The best.
Yeah. Antibodies, like you read about.
I have the best antibodies. Actually, no, that's Tom Brady. That's not Donald Trump. But these guys who think they're infallible or invulnerable, or it's how he would approach it. And if he did it soon, it would be a big boost to the campaign. If it happens, mid-October, different story. But I want to get to you and I are both, media critics. We follow the mainstream media, and we never miss the chance to mock and ridicule these sycophants. It is, we've made it clear for a long time now that journalism is dead. I think the worst example of media bias I've ever seen, and I've been saying it for a month or more. And Ben Shapiro, by the way, just tweeted it out. He's once again stealing my material. The worst example of media bias I've ever seen is the treatment of Andrew Cuomo. I mean, when you have media people saying he's done a wonderful job knowing, and all they have to do is click like I do on Worldometer and see the numbers and see how many he's killed. Over 33,000 in New York have died. Over 11,000 because of his policy, because of his decision. Now he's making speeches about what a wonderful job he did, and writing books. The book was already done, by the way, which is amazing to me. Who the hell is going to read that? But that the way they, as somebody said, and it's more true here than ever, the job of the mainstream media is to cover the news with a pillow until it stops moving. That's the job. They kill this story. It's media bias by omission. They will not tell you what a disaster Cuomo is. But here's what you need to understand. The people covering these stories, the Cuomo story, the people covering the campaign, the convention, are people like Ryan Lizza. Now, you know this stuff because you know it better than most. Most people don't know who he is, but they should. He's the chief Washington correspondent of Politico. He's a senior political analyst on CNN. He's writing a book about 2020, right? He's got 261,000 followers on Twitter. He's a very prominent pundit. He watched that speech by Barack Obama last night, which was by any measure kind of dull, lifeless, not a lot of, no laughs, not a lot of memorable lines, just, him attacking Trump for everything, attacking Trump for, voter suppression, all the usual, check up for using tear gas on peaceful protesters. By the way, that was my favorite part. The guy who used a drone to take out a U.S. citizen overseas, that guy, which I had no problem with, it was a terrorist, but he was a U.S. citizen entitled to due process. Barack Obama said, screw that, and took him out. That guy is criticizing Trump for using tear gas on rioters, which he didn't do.
Peaceful protesters, Jerry.
Oh, I'm
Peaceful
sorry.
Protesters.
The ones who tried to burn the church down just before Trump went and appeared in front of the church.
For George, though. For George.
Oh,
for George.
I forgot. For George.
Yeah.
That's why the guy in Portland kicked the guy in the head and gave him
George. Yeah, George would want that. Duh.
For George. That should be the hashtag. I saw the death toll, by the way. The death toll is like 3 dozen since the rioting begins. So at least 3 dozen, 35, 40 people have died. For George.
I really can't believe they're still having, do they have lockdowns in Oregon? How can anybody take a lockdown seriously when literally every single night they're on there, they're out there, they're shoulder to shoulder doing whatever the hell they want to do? It's crazy.
If you haven't seen it, he is right. Last night looked as violent as ever. They were fighting with cops. They were burning stuff, burned a mattress in the middle of the street in like a residential neighborhood. There's wild video of people sitting down to like dinner, and outside the window is all these explosives going off and fires burning. It is amazing. They're just letting them do it. It's 80 nights in a row that these Antifa scum, these, the militant wing of the Democrat Party has taken to the streets and just wreaked havoc. But again, that's another example of great media bias. When you hear media people act like that, like Alex Reamer, people like him.
Very serious media people, yes.
Right. Serious media people say, that's overrated. That's a myth. It's just wild stuff.
Media people, you mean Jerry Nadler. You mean
Exactly.
people that actually have power.
Right. Gerald Nadler said it's a myth. And every night you watch and you see it and they say, when are they going to start, just taking these people off the streets? They arrest them and then they're out.
Well, I'm all for the idea that Antifa is a myth. I think we should go with that. Like, let's just call it what it is. Black Lives Matter. Like, that's fine with me. You don't want to call it Antifa? Fine. You're Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter is the problem then, not Antifa.
It's a good point. It's a good point. They hide behind the Black Lives Matter, as we've seen in this convention. I mean, Michelle Obama said she's amazed that the term Black Lives Matter is met with derision. And I'm going, derision? They're literally calling for the overthrow of the U.S. government. They're literally leading riots in our major cities, including her alleged hometown, Chicago, which she probably hasn't been in years. She was sitting in Martha's Vineyard talking about.
Oh, they're from the South Side, Jerry. South Side.
Right. Anyway, let's get to Ryan Lizzo, political guy, CNN guy, prominent political pundit. He watched that dreadfully dull speech by Barack Obama last night. And here's what he tweeted. Barack Obama just delivered the finest convention speech in modern history. Spellbinding, chilling, optimistic, beautifully written, and expertly delivered. Incredible moment. That's what he wrote. It got 35,000 likes and 6,000 retweets. It is absolute revisionist history. It's that is fake news.
It is fake news, but Jerry, Obama has the ability of being the guy who came before Trump. That is his biggest strength, because nobody's been more hated than Trump by the left. Anybody, like, you couldn't pick a politician that even comes close to him. So of course the two-term guy who precedes him is going to go down no matter what he says. The only person obviously more that can say nothing and be praised for it more is his wife.
Right.
I mean, they're the most two protected people in America.
It is true. And the amazing thing is the scandals of the Obama years, including the last scandal when they were trying till the final moments that they were in office to take down Trump, to stop the Trump presidency before it started. Trump is such a bombastic guy that when he tweets, they spied on my campaign, people just dismiss it, but they spied on his campaign. That's not deniable. We know that now. I guess like you and I are, we are news junkies. We know where to find news, but if you're just a casual reader, listener, you don't know it. But Obama spied on Trump's campaign. Obama used the IRS to go after his political enemies. Obama, Benghazi, Fast and Furious. There's dozens and dozens of scandals, and it's just ignored, and they act like
every president has scandals, though. I mean, scandals are almost part of the job.
I agree, but I think in my lifetime, Obama had the most. I have no doubt about it, including.
Did you forget Bill Clinton?
I did not, but I don't think as many administrations were as just.
Nobody's had a more destructive. No president has had a more destructive cover up though than George W. Bush with weapons of mass destruction, Jerry.
Right, which is an intelligence failure. I mean, I love the idea that he lied. No, he just believed the intelligence, blindly. It was foolish. I guess
the point is that nobody cares about any of these. That's why I don't even bother looking into whether or not I have no interest in the Obama spying on Trump thing. I have no interest in scandals. Because nobody cares. Nobody cares. That's not a winning issue. You think that's a winning issue?
No. If you could actually get the truth, there would be a lot of indictments, not just one.
Boring. It was like Russia and Ukraine. It's boring. Nobody cares about that stuff.
Well, here's all I want people to understand about Russia and Ukraine is it's all made up, just like this post office scandal. It's just all made
That's a good one. I love the post office scandal. That is a funny one because it started with Rex freaking Chapman on Twitter tweeting about his mailboxes and said, "Oh my God, did you see? It's Pizzagate for the left." Where's Alex about QAnon now? This is literally that on steroids.
My favorite, there's a local politician, a local left-wing nut, I forget where, and he chained himself to a mailbox to stop them from removing it. But here's the best part, Aiden. Look at the stories, even from Rex Chapman, who's lost his mind, and other, prominent lefties, is they're talking about them removing or locking mailboxes in New York, New Jersey, California. Why would you have to do that? You can't win those states anyway. Every single person in the state could vote for Biden, doesn't matter what happens.
I asked a lefty about that when she put it on Facebook, and I'm like, they go, no, Trump thinks he can win New York. It's like, okay, I'm arguing with a child now. Trump himself doesn't even think about New York. I mean, we've punted those states. There's a 0% chance he can ever even come close to win them. We surrender them. It's okay. We'll go after the real states.
By the way, Hillary was fighting the 2016, relitigating 2016 all over again. Here's the tough part: if you're Biden, although he doesn't know what's going on, if you're whoever's running the campaign, if you're Jill Biden or David Axelrod, and you're pulling the strings, you're watching these old dinosaurs like Pelosi, who just struggled to read the teleprompter, or Liz Warren. And by the way, not on Tuesday, she pretended to be an Indian again, which was priceless. On Wednesday, she started talking about her old Aunt B again, making up stories.
She can't be real. She can't be. There's no way Aunt B is a real person. No way.
She's making up stories about Aunt B watching her babies. And it's like, man, is there any fresh material? They should bring out the real, voices of their party. Have John Oliver on there. But
they don't have any young
Jimmy
voices.
Kimmel, have Howard Stern on there.
You know why they don't have the young voices, Jerry? Because the young voices are all AOC, a bunch of commies. You can't have who's the young moderate Democrat up and comer? The Obama of 12 years ago.
There is not one. There are squad members, and they gave only one squad member a chance to talk. They gave her 1 minute. She went 1 minute and 40 seconds, and she refused to endorse Biden. Again,
she's claiming that's traditional, though.
She's crazy. That's bullshit, and you know it. And,
I know it.
I give her credit. She's a rebel. She's not bright. She's not. She's wrong on everything. But she's got balls. She says whatever she wants. She says, we want to defund the cops. We want to end ICE. ICE immigration. We want to end all that. We want a whole new world. I said this yesterday. I tweeted out. We talked about it yesterday. And one of the radicals that they're trying to keep under wraps was on the Zoom, talking about this caucus. It was I think it was an LBGD caucus. And they were talking about what they demand. And she demands the end of prisons.
Yes, I saw that. She was a lovely young there or whatever.
Yeah,
whatever that is.
Which is most of those
crazy. On the BLT 1-2-3 spectrum, as we call it. What is somewhere on there? And
I don't understand that. I genuinely, I know they're going to send social workers to solve bank robberies and stuff. But what are they going to do when they catch criminals? Where do they go?
Tickle them? I don't know.
Why can't folks imagine a world without the cops? Why can't folks imagine a world without prisons? Why can't people expand their imaginations to include community care, to include an abolitionist future? And I'm talking about for real abolition, not just watered down DNC version of abolition. We're talking about abolishing the police. We're talking about abolishing ICE. We're talking about abolishing prisons.
That confuses me, genuinely confuses me. I'm all for the debate, the discuss, as Kamala Harris likes to say when she's afraid to commit to something. I think we need to have that conversation.
We need to have the conversation, y'all. It's funny they didn't put that clip on MSNBC.
They asked her about allowing Zarniev to vote, and she said, we need to have that conversation. That was Don Lemon, by the way, asking her, should Zarniev vote? And she said, we need to have the conversation.
That's a great way to say no, by the way. That's her way of saying no, is we need to have that conversation. The answer is no.
And everything's we need to have that. So I'm all for the conversation about defunding the police because it's a good issue for Trump, for my side. But I still don't know what you mean when you say get rid of prisons. So where does Zarniev go?
And here's the thing that every single one of them brings up every single election. They love going back to this is voter fraud. They love to go back to this idea that, get there early, like Michelle Obama said, pack a lunch, get there early, blah, blah, blah. What's the longest you've ever waited in line to vote, Jerry?
That was a good point by you. I saw your tweet. Not like you said, 5 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, I literally voted the highest voter turnout precinct in Worcester every year, like by far. Never had a line. Even the longest I remember was 2008, and it was probably 2 or 3 minutes I was in line. And I like all these states that are complaining about it. They're all run by Democrats.
Democrats, yes.
Because that's why they're mad, is that those are Democratic votes that are waiting in line. And do they not know that elections are controlled by your local election commission or whatever. Like it's up to them to figure out a way to streamline this.
Keep that under your hat. We're not supposed to talk about it. You're supposed to pretend that not Bush.
That's the way they want to make
Trump
it seem that like
Bush,
Republicans are the ones stopping you. It's like, no, you assigned a 95-year-old lady to check off the list and she takes forever. And for some reason, there's no other poll workers working there. They couldn't set up 5 more booths. Don't blame Trump. What are you talking about?
I moved to the city and thought I was going to see, long lines, because it's always the cities that they say, because that's where the Democrats are. That's where the minorities are. I moved to the city. No wait at all. Walked right in, and some 98-year-old lady was trying to, and it couldn't have been easier. It's never been more than a 5-minute wait. The places where you see the lines that Rex Chapman will be tweeting about the lines will be Atlanta and Detroit, places run by Democrats. It's a myth. It's canard, and Obama, Barack.
If there was lines at a Republican polling place, do you think they would complain? No.
By the way,
lines of Democratic polling places.
The vote in Wisconsin, the big vote in Wisconsin, they said we were going to kill everyone. This report came out that there were 0 cases of COVID from that live voting in Wisconsin. But it's for dumb people, it's for easily manipulated people, the Reamers and the Rex Chapmans who want to say, ooh, Trump and his allies are locking up mailboxes and literally throwing a wrench into the works at the post office so they can't get or Joy Reid saying Joy Reid's proof of voter suppression was she sent out thank you notes 4 weeks ago because people congratulated her and getting her new job. And some people haven't gotten them yet. That's her proof that Trump is trying to fix the election. But the hell, they're standard bearer.
Did she get married? Thank you notes? Are you kidding me? For a job? Who sends out, what kind of psychopath sends out thank you notes after getting a job? Does she not have a text message?
I'm sorry, Turtle Boy. She's just a better person than you are.
This is the same woman, by the way, who says that her account was hacked and the FBI is looking into it.
Yes, they're still
keep that in mind.
They're still looking into it. But Obama did it again last night. Everyone does it. They all talk about they're going to try to stop. I mean, you just played it before we started recording here, Dave. That rant where Obama says they're going to do everything to stop you from voting, to stop this democracy. I mean, Trump, if he knew how to suppress the vote, couldn't pull it off. He doesn't. You don't think he knows how to use the post office to stop them from getting ballots, mail-in ballots?
It is bullshit that we're doing this by mail. What happens if a mail truck falls over?
It's total bullshit.
So much that could go wrong.
Here's the best part, and you don't have to be too bright to figure out how silly this is. They're taken to the streets and marching. Protesting in person against voting in person, saying they could show up, march arm to arm, shoulder to shoulder against the idea that they could vote in person. It's ridiculous. Everybody knows it's just a way to
the mail order ballots or whatever, that when they go in, do they go to your polling place? Do they count them in? Because when you go to vote, it says how many people voted that day in the polling place. Are they treated like absentee? Are they counted afterwards? Are they counted that day? How does this work?
I don't know. They just assume they're all Democrats and they get in there, they throw them in a big pile. It's just a way to cheat, and everyone knows it. Obama actually said last night in his speech, we need to make it easier to vote. Easier.
It's so freaking easy. There's no ID required. I mean, it's
now you can vote absentee, mail-in, drive by. You can vote early, which is ridiculous. It should just be like
drive by.
Drive by. You can drive by and just yell out who you want. Just ride by.
I didn't know
and yell.
that.
Yeah, by Sleepy Joe, and they check the box for Sleepy Joe. It couldn't be easier. They register you. You just blink twice and they'll register you. It is ridiculously easy. And I know why, because they want lazy, uninspired, unmotivated people to vote. That's their base. That's how it works. The Trump people are very, very passionate. The Biden people are not. There's a big passion gap, or what do they call it? Enthusiasm gap. But I don't even. Those are your highlights from last night. The ratings have been terrible. I guess you can't blame them because there's no energy, there's no people, there's no crowd. Conventions are supposed to have crowds and noise and enthusiasm. But I find it more entertaining, at least I did until last night, more entertaining than, baseball right now. So
everything is more entertaining than baseball. What about the Celtics? You watch, Boston, according to Dan Roach, was the greatest night in Boston sports history.
Right?
I mean, he's got to keep it in his pants a little bit, but it was a good night.
David Krejci tied up a playoff game yesterday, 1-1. It was a huge goal, and he celebrated like he just scored a goal in like a half-ice scrimmage. You know, like nobody cares.
It was called the greatest night. What Roche wasn't the only one called the greatest night in Boston sports history. I don't know. I'm thinking winning a Super Bowl would be a better night. Winning a World Series in 2004 might be a better night, but I guess he meant the cumulative thing where
Dave, you don't think if the Bruins are, because it's the first round too, you don't think that as this goes on, if the Bruins and Celtics stay in it, there will be a little bit more buzz?
No, it's gonna be more than what there is right now, but it feels so blah. It feels so boring, no matter what.
And I hope so. There's no bar factor either. Like usually, if you're the away team, they'll show like here's the bars back in Boston. That can't exist this time. What are they going to show?
No, it's a good point. I would make, my buddies and I were talking about it last night. I would make an argument to and I know we make fun of like Jared Carabas types all the time, but like cut to people who are just kind of shit talking or something like that to add some kind of humor element and fun and loudness to the broadcast because they're just so boring.
Ooh, are they letting in 300, 200 people? Are any people like VIPs allowed to go in and just sit apart from each other? Because you don't see any people. You would think that would be kind of a hot ticket or an honor. Like they call up and say, I realize it's tough in the bubble, but at Fenway, can you go in there if you're well connected and
what's the point? Those aren't the type of people that cheer loudly. If you let in 300 drunks, I'm all for it.
Right.
Find the most Boston guys you can.
Right. You let in 300 real passionate fans, you would have some noise, wouldn't you? Some energy. But it is funny that it's the worst Red Sox team ever. And they've announced they're not going to let any fans in at all till the end of the season. And there might be the goal there might be to avoid the embarrassment of nobody wanting.
Not a problem.
Nobody wanting.
I haven't watched a single Red Sox game. I have no desire to whatsoever, none. If the Bruins are on, I'll throw them on, but I'm not sitting there like I used to, actually watching every second of it. Celtics, the same thing. I throw it on because it's on. But this, and it's funny because the Celtics, Jerry, look fantastic.
I'll check them out. I'll check them out.
I know you don't want to because the message is on the shirts, but if you can get over that, they're killing it right now. Jason Tatum had another 30-point game last night. He looks great.
Maybe it's worth watching just to see if there's a homophobic slur that ends up just being broadcast.
Yeah, we're going to get to that. We're going to get to another announcer steps in it. It is amazing. Did this stuff happen before COVID, or is this a side effect of COVID that announcers say really stupid career-ending things? But this one tops them all. This one is amazing. I will get to that. I want to get to Bob Kraft, the big news on the Bob Kraft story yesterday. It was a victory for the good guys and a defeat for the Boston Globe, and we will always celebrate any defeat for the Boston Globe on this podcast. But let me tell you about Shea Concrete first before we get to all that. Shea Concrete's a great company, a family-owned company that's working hard day in and day out to be a trusted precast concrete partner. It's a local company, but they're all over New England. 4 state-of-the-art manufacturing facilities, probably one near you, and they're all hiring. I'll get to that. If you're a contractor, if you already have a job and you're a contractor, let me tell you some of the products Shea can deliver to your job site ready for installation. Water and wastewater products, barriers and bullards, deck footings, electrical and communication products. This list goes on and on. The guys at Shea can do it all. If you're an engineer, Shea can really help out. They can help you design your next project. Their engineers can sit down with your engineers and figure the whole thing out. Give them a call for more information or for an estimate, or just log on to sheaconcrete.com. And while you're there, you can see if there's a job for you, see if there's a good fit. I know lots of people are struggling. Lots of people were put out of work by the governors, by the overzealous governors, and maybe you can bounce back and get a job at Shea Concrete. They're hiring CDL drivers. They're hiring people at all their plants. If you think it might be a good fit, just send your resume to jobs@sheaconcrete.com. All right, we've talked a lot over the few months about we do cancel culture all the time. By the way, we did it. We talked about it yesterday, of it going the other way when conservatives are trying to cancel Goodyear, which is good to see them fighting back. I'm not a big boycott guy, but you got to fight fire.
Wartime conservatism. You have to fight on their playing field. I've been saying this for a long time, Jerry.
They fight dirty, and Trump is just the guy. If you want a guy to fight dirty, he took to the podium yesterday and said, "Screw Goodyear, screw Goodyear," and they buckled. 10 minutes later, they essentially apologized and rescinded their policy. We talked about it yesterday. They don't allow MAGA hats or Blue Lives Matter, but they do allow Black Lives Matter, and they changed the policy as soon as Trump said, "Don't buy Goodyear." I don't think he's changed his tune yet, but he will. It's obviously a good American company, a big American company. He doesn't want to destroy them. But anyway, the worst example of the cancel culture was that announcer in Sacramento who lost his job as Sacramento Kings play-by-play guy because he said all lives matter. He got fired because he said all lives matter. And since then, there's been a few announcers. Yesterday, we talked about the I don't know what he is, play-by-play guy of the Charlotte Hornets, this dope who accidentally tweeted the N-word when he was talking about a game. He allegedly meant to type Nuggets, and he typed N-word.
Well, okay, so if you looked at the keyboard, Jerry, the I is next to the U, right? And the T is next to the R. It's literally just you replace those two letters. But at the same time, what kind of phone autocorrects to the N-word?
we were trying. Yeah, we were trying to.
We asked this yesterday. Does that mean he uses that word all the time?
I don't know. It's like it's interesting. I have a hard time believing that some guy actually just maliciously in 2020 is like, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna tweet the N-word. This will go over well.
But it doesn't work in today's, with the mob. They don't care if it's an innocent mistake. They'll still destroy you. And he's suspended. I don't know if he survives, but let me tell you who will not survive. And it's a big, big name. Tom Brenneman, Cincinnati Reds announcer. He's been a major league announcer for 33 years. He's a big.
I've heard his voice before. I recognize it.
It's a big name in the business, and he's a familiar name announcer. He does national games. He's a huge.
He's familiar because he does NFL Fox games. That's how people mostly know.
And he does national baseball too. Doesn't he do playoffs?
Maybe.
He's been around forever, and he was on the broadcast and thought he was, and it was just remarkable. The guy's been around for 30 something years, and he's so careless as to say something during a break, thinking that the mic was not live. It was, and you know what he did on this at this moment? He committed professional suicide. You want to hear a guy kill his own career in one quick moment, one quick mindless moment? You want to play it, Dave? Because it's let's play what Tom Brenneman said on a live mic, and then we will play you his apology, which was bizarre too.
Fag capitals of the world.
Ooh, let me back it up. Hold on.
The fag capitals of the world.
Could you hear that?
I heard it.
That was as clear as could be. He has no defense. He can't say he typed the wrong button. He can't say
the hot mic.
He can't say they took it out of context. Or the guy, at ESPN who said that the tennis player was using guerrilla tactics, and they accused him of using the other gorilla word, and he ended up suing and winning. But there's usually some defense for this kind of thing. Guys saying it's not what he said. It was taken out of context. Tom Brenneman, a huge name in the business, just pissed away his whole career. At break, talking about a city that they're going to.
What city?
They don't say what city. Are they going to San Francisco? It's got to be, or maybe check the red. Can you check the red schedule?
I think we can knock off Omaha off the list. Tulsa.
I don't think the MLB goes to Omaha, but I assume they were heading there, and he was talking about the city. Anyway, he said that on a hot mic, and imagine the feeling he had when someone told him that went out over the air, and that is now viral. So he is. So I don't know how many innings later the apology came, and then he left, and he said later that he just his career might be over, and he's right. His career is over. I'm not sure how you recover from this. Here's
this is one of the great on-air. We're going to play in a second when you're done, but this is one of the great on-air apologies I've ever heard. Actually, the composure is fantastic.
So this is during the game. He says this. The word breaks. Everyone's finding out. He's been doing Major League games for 33 years. He's been with Fox Sports for 27 years doing baseball and football. For this one mindless, idiotic moment where he clearly used that word, and he's clearly comfortable using that word, so there is no recovering from this, but he tried. He made an apology later in the game. Let's hear that, Dave.
Out of my heart, I'm so very, very sorry. I pride myself and think of myself as a man of faith. As there's a drive in a deep left field by Castellanos, it will be a home run. And so that'll make it a 4-0 ball game. I don't know if I'm going to be putting on this headset again. I don't know if it's going to be for the Reds. I don't know if it's going to be for my bosses at Fox. I want to apologize for the people who signed my paycheck, for the Reds, for Fox Sports Ohio, for the people I work with, for anybody that I've offended here tonight. I can't begin to tell you how deeply sorry I am. That is not who I am, and never has been. And I'd like to think maybe I could have some people that could back that up.
Oh my God!
It's a 3-2 count.
That is
second.
The best part was a home run.
I know.
a home run in the middle of his apology. That is a dead man talking right there. That is.
Can I give people advice on the apology? Don't say you're a man of faith. That makes it like, first of all, it sounds pathetic. It sounds like you're falling back and hiding behind religion and stuff like that. And number two, especially when it comes to homosexuality issues, being a man of faith is not a positive. And that would explain maybe perhaps why you said that.
What could he say? What defense could there be? I mean, what do you
Nothing.
want?
Just ignore it. Pretend it didn't happen.
He took the headsets off and left, and the other guy took over because he knows it's over. The Reds put out a statement, Fox Sports, and they leave no flesh on his bones. They say they have a zero tolerance policy for this time of homophobia. The Reds say is zero tolerance. This is Marge Schott's team.
That's true.
And they say they're proud of their support of the LGBTQ. Yep, they even have the Q on there. We share our sincerest apologies to the LGBTQ community in Cincinnati, Kansas City, and all over the country. The Reds embrace a zero tolerance policy for bias or discrimination of any kind. We're truly sorry. He's done. He's dead. He's over. He's 56. And he's been doing this since he was a kid, and his career is over. And it's one of those cases where you just blame him for being such a fool. What's he saying that for? What the hell is going on?
What's he apologizing for, or saying the F word there?
Saying the F word. What? I mean, saying the F word in the booth.
Have we checked in with our gay consultant, Alex Reamer? Has he chimed in about this?
I'm sure Alex, he'll write about this for someone, Forbes or Boston, or Out Sports or somebody, one of his many, many jobs. But at the same time with this guy, and I have no sympathy. I don't know him, but he's a fool. I'm sure he has plenty of money. I think it's time that he, moves on with his life, because he's never going to recover. This is like an Al Campanis moment where you never see him again. At the same time, the other day, I don't know if you saw this one from the cancel culture file. That's I have a whole file on here with stories just pop up every day. The cancel culture file. Mark Grace, you remember Mark Grace, the
old first baseman, the Cubs.
First baseman, the lefty. He's a color commentator for the Cubs, I assume. What team's Mark Grace with? I assume it's the Cubs, or is it
he played with the Diamondbacks too, I want to say.
Yeah,
I'll check. But he was just shooting the breeze in the booth, and he referred to his ex-wife as a dingbat. Now, if people don't know that, right? Who doesn't think their ex-wife's a dingbat? Yeah. But if people who don't know, a dingbat is a term that Archie Bunker used to describe Edith. And by the way, it was a term of endearment. He kind of, if you remember, he would, he loved his wife and he called her a dingbat. He apologized for using that term. They suspended him for 5 games. He's also 56, by the way, suspended by Marquee Sports for 5 games for calling his and he apologized for calling his ex-wife a dingbat. What if she is? Wouldn't that be a good defense?
It would be. I mean, I didn't even know that's a bad word. Dingbat. Dingbat? That's like a word I would use if I was censoring myself. Dingbat.
It's kind of an idiotic. He says it's early afternoon and my ex-wife, I'm going to go Archie Bunker on you guys a little bit and call her a dingbat, he said. So he actually refers to Archie Bunker.
Did he get in trouble or?
Yeah, he got suspended.
For how long? Like, is this
5 games?
Dingbat? You can't say
5 games for calling his ex-wife a dingbat, which is kind of silly. It's kind of silly. It's totally silly. But, I guess you got to be more careful and he'll survive and laugh it off. Unlike Tom Brenneman, who will never laugh it off. Tom Brenneman right now probably hasn't slept a minute. He's probably throwing up. He's probably sick. He's never going to recover from this because he made one stupid off the cuff homophobic remark in the booth. And I guess he's going to get what's coming to him. No sympathy for him, but his life is over.
Who are those producers, by the way? I mean, you got nothing going on in the booth around you, and in the control room, it's probably barely empty. I mean, I think they have a little bit of focus to not air something like that, or at least to let the guy know that he's on the air at the moment. So,
what's the delay? I mean, is there?
That's true too. There should be a delay.
Yeah. All right, let's get to the big news. The big news of the day. Where is my Bob Kraft? Here it is. Bob Kraft. Good news for Bob Kraft. Good news for decent people everywhere. Because, as you know, Bob Kraft got busted last year in a massage parlor, Orchids of Asia in Florida. There are certain people in the media. Bob Kraft's 79. He was arrested in February of 2019. That's how long ago that was. Wow. And the Boston Globe and other media members have been trying for a year and a half to get their hands on
No pun intended. No pun intended.
Yeah, they're trying to get their hands on the video because they really, really want to see Bob Kraft's wiener. It's kind of a goal. Everybody, I mean, you go into journalism for a reason. Some people want to expose corruption. They want to advance their agenda. People who go to work at the Boston Globe go there with one goal in mind: to get a look at Bob Kraft's junk.
It certainly isn't to report the news, because they didn't cover, by the way, the confrontation with Joe Kennedy the other day. Did you see that video, Rayla
Yes,
Campbell?
of course I saw it on TB Daily News.
Of course you did. Yes, of course you did. But the Globe wrote a story about his whole speech there. They didn't mention that part. How do you not mention that part? A congressional candidate started screaming the N-word at a guy running for Senate, and the Globe just didn't think to put that in.
So there was no mention of it?
They didn't mention it. The Herald obviously did. The Globe just did not mention it. They just talked about his speech.
It's like if you break the news, though, if it's first appears on Turtle Boy TB Daily News, they will pretend it never happened. It is hard to
they endorse Markey. The Globe
endorse Markey. They're with you. They want Markey to win. They're big
right.
Markey guys.
Yeah, I'm a Markey guy. Yeah, got that right. I mean, how can you not be a Markey guy? How can you not hate Joe Kennedy with every ounce of your being?
I do. I hate Markey more. That's all.
Anybody that kills the Kennedy claim, like, destroy this guy, because he can't get his House seats done. I don't know what Joe Kennedy's going to do for work, but his political days are over if he loses this election. And I don't want to see a Kennedy for the net. Jerry, you're not like. I hate to break it to you, unless COVID, at least you'll be 100 years old. But if Joe Kennedy gets elected, he's going to be in the Senate for like 40 years. I got to live with this guy. I can't have that.
So if he doesn't, then Markey wins, and in 6 years from now, some crazy radical like Ayanna Pressley or Monica Collins Grant steps in, wins that seat. But I don't care. I met Joe Kennedy; seemed like a nice guy. Markey is not a nice guy. Markey's but
okay,
you're always in lockstep with the Globe, Turtle Boy. So I'll give you that. Your Globe tells you. The Globe endorses Markey, then you can count on Turtle Boy's support. Anyway, which was a bizarre story, by the way. If you haven't seen it, check it out on TB Daily News. The opponent, Rayla, what's her name again?
Rayla Campbell.
Rayla Campbell disrupted a Joe Kennedy appearance, and it was beautiful because I will say this: nobody panders like Joe Kennedy. Nobody panders about environmental justice.
He talks in whispers.
Did you ever see the wall? Did you ever see the wall he built around
The
his
wall?
house? Maybe, yeah, he has
I
a
did not.
massive like cement wall around his house, and he will rail against the wall, protecting you in the area and on the rest of America. He'll rail against that wall, but man, he will build a hell of a wall to protect himself from outsiders. But we'll see what happens. That's only 2 weeks away, correct? Markey versus Joe Kennedy, the
Yeah,
third.
2 weeks away. Yep.
No chance they
Less
could
than
both
that.
lose, right?
No, unfortunately, one of them is going to win, and the Republican one's going to be close too. O'Connor and Shiva. I know you're an O'Connor guy.
Yes,
He actually
I'm
followed me on
O'Connor.
Twitter, which I appreciate. So I guess I'm torn on that one.
I certainly know who to support in November after this election in September. But the Globe is hoping to get Ed Markey over the finish line, and maybe they will. It's been an up and down summer for the Globe. I tweeted this out. They had a big win when Zarniev was taken off death row. I've never seen them commit to anything like they committed to saving the life of the worst mass murderer, in Boston history, or since the Boston Strangler. They did everything. They pulled out all the stops. They lost. The jury voted to execute this maggot. It was a sad day at the Globe, but they bounced back nicely when an appeals court, a couple of Obama judges said, nah, he's misunderstood. We just didn't really fully embrace the Zarnievs, and they took him off death row. The Globe was thrilled with that. They were hoping to get a look at Kraft's Wiener soon. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen for a while. The 4th District Court of Appeals in Florida ruled that law enforcement violated Kraft's rights, which are protected by the 4th Amendment, which protects against unreasonable search and seizure. The court said allowing the videos to be used would, quote, yield unbridled discretion to agents of law enforcement regarding 4th Amendment issues. A sad day for...
Yeah, you can defund those police. Those are fake cops. The guys that are wasting their time with this. This is obviously political or whatever, sports related. It's just so not the amount of effort they put into. It was just about attention. Like, oh, we got Bob Kraft, so we're going to make a big deal out of it. Freaking handy. Who cares?
There is some hope for the Globe. Prosecutors are likely to appeal the ruling to the state Supreme Court, according to the Associated Press. So they will appeal. John Henry and Linda Pizzuti. There's still a chance that you can see Kraft's schlong. So, there's hope. Hope is alive. Your baseball team is down the tubes. Your newspaper is barely hanging on, but you still might get to see Bob and another consenting adults in private. I'm happy about this. I like Kraft. I don't like the Globe, but the fight goes on and on. It's amazing. A year and a half later, and they're still fighting to see this video. They're still fighting hard to get a look at this raunchy video of Bob Kraft. And if you're not aware how this works, the people of New England love Bob Kraft. They do not love John Henry. He uses his newspaper to try to sully Kraft and the Patriots because he's so freaking jealous. That's the story.
It is a story. I don't know. I think, would you watch it? Would you watch it?
Yes, I would watch it.
I
can't watch it.
You'd watch. I'd watch it. I'd definitely watch it.
I have to say,
dick pics are trend right now. So, I'd clearly watch. What's more vulgar, the dick pics or Cardi B's WAP? Which one do you think is more vulgar?
Good question. The Cardi B's WAP with the snakes is as vulgar as it gets. That's one of only 2 people who's been allowed to interview Joe Biden. The other one being Forrest Gump.
How funny is that? My mother called me about that. Yes, my mother has no idea who Cardi B is, so she calls me about this yesterday. They're like, "Did you know who this Cardi B person is?" Because now she's prominent. Now she's interview with her, but Cardi B can. And so now people like my mom are Googling Cardi B, and they're not liking what they're seeing. Jerry, believe it or not, it's like terrible. It's not going over well. What are they thinking, Cardi B? Jesus,
my daughter's older and doesn't listen to me anymore. You guys have young daughters. Can you imagine having a daughter who's like, I don't know, 14, 15, and she looks up to this this skank. I mean, Christ.
She literally admitted to drugging and robbing guys who were paying to have sex with her. And she's like the stupidest person. She's on this. She's like, so, yeah, like, yo, here's what I really want. I really want to get rid of like coronavirus. And I think you the guy to get rid of coronavirus because I want to go on tour. Can you do it? And then we need Medicare for all and free college. Can you do that for me?
And they set her up with him. And his problem right now is, not being all there, not being with it. And he looks more lost than ever as she's talking. He's just looking, staring blankly. It's a bad look. We'll see tonight. Do you think here's again, I give Obama credit. He did his speech live for some reason. He read the teleprompter fine. There just was not a lot of energy or not a lot of, passion. It was just him reading the teleprompter, ripping Trump. He got through it. Why did he do it live? And why would you ever let Biden do anything live if you don't have to?
That's a great question. The more, did you see when he came out yesterday? I was laughing so hard when they came out and him and Kamala stood across and then they pretended like they couldn't hug because of COVID and stuff like that. Like, you all have been tested 1 billion times and stuff like that, but they want to set a good example that what they should do. I have no idea, but it's not helping, Jerry. Like,
we'll see tonight.
In the polls, the opposite has happened.
We'll find out tonight. You know what? I think we lost you momentarily, but that's okay. Tonight, I think we have done him one great service. We have lowered the bar so freaking low. It is on the ground. If he comes out and is not a big piss stain in his pants and his teeth don't fall out, he will get high marks. People like this Ryan Klizik clown from Politico already, written their review, Ryan Lizza, and said how wonderful Biden was and how he, presents hope, and change. Guy who's been in Washington for 50 years, going against the guy who's been there for 3, blaming the guy who's been there for 3 for all the systemic problems. It is kind of rich, but they'll love him. He'll get through it. He'll battle through, and they'll love him. Who else is tonight? I just saw the whole list of speakers.
The Yang Gang gets their guy. Michael Bloomberg is speaking right before Biden.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
By the way, what happened to him during coronavirus? Did he disappear?
He just promised $3 million to build a library in his hometown of Medford. So I guess he didn't spend all his money on the campaign, and we'll see tonight. Can you imagine him with no crowd and no noise and no energy? Jesus. Good luck trying to stay up through that one. Cullinane.
We are getting a performance by the Chicks tonight. Remember?
Oh, really?
The Dixie Chicks, no more. The Chicks will be in the house.
What the hell is wrong with Dixie? I mean, did they change the name of Dixie Cups yet? Because I didn't think Dixie was
anything
offensive.
That's related to the South, Jerry, is just not acceptable anymore.
And I used to like them. Even though they're crazy lefties. You gotta embrace the lefty if you like music. I mean, and you don't want to just settle for Lee Greenwood and Ted Nugent. You're gonna have to like some lefties. And I used to like the Dixie Chicks, but they're hopefully they're going to perform live. Are they going to sing, or are they just going to talk?
I certainly don't think it'll be a live performance, but it will be a performance.
That's true.
Yeah, I don't know if they're going to talk. It just says they'll be there. So
all right, we'll see. We'll see how.
Do they hate Trump the way they hate Bush? Do they hate Trump the way they hate? Because their big thing, they became famous by hating George Bush. Okay, right. I haven't heard much. I assume they hate Trump.
Yeah, remember,
they hate Trump.
Remember all their albums in the big pile, and somebody ran over it with a tractor or whatever. Remember that whole thing?
Yes. Yeah. And she has a great
song. The big thing is they're from Texas. They're from Texas, and they spoke out against a president from Texas overseas. So in country music, that's a conservative fan base. So that at the time was woke. That was groundbreaking. Now everybody's doing it, so it's not even interesting anymore.
Sadly, there's a bunch of lefties in country music, led by former country music star Taylor Swift, who's become totally political and talking about voter suppression and mailboxes. But other guys, Tim McGraw, who I like, he's kind of become, woke. But Dixie Chicks, I liked the Chicks. I don't know. I'll see. I'll see what I think tonight.
You're a Dixie Chicks fan.
Dixie Chicks. I mean, hell, their song about being vilified, Not Ready to Make Nice, is a great song. A great political anthem.
It is a
Hey,
good song.
maybe you know what?
I'm surprised you like it though. I'm shocked by that.
I told you have to like my favorites. And I like Springsteen. I used to love Jimmy Buffett. They're all crazy lefties.
Great.
She does have a lot of anger in that song. You can feel their anger coming out of her.
Yes, I like angry songs. I like protest songs. I mean, I liked watching the guy in the dress sing Buffalo Springfield. That was beautiful.
I have that song stuck in my head. I can't get him out of my head, Jared. I mean,
I've seen it like 3
I
or
have
4
better
times.
YouTube production than that.
All you think about when you watch it is the decision in the boardroom. Somebody, like I said, Axelrod and Michelle Obama saying, here's an idea. Let's get Billy Porter to go out there and lip sync Buffalo Springfield. I thought it was a little bit much yesterday, though, when Chelsea Manning
in a
came
cape or something. What was the outfit?
Yeah, it was in a cape.
So and then there's an old guy with a guitar, some random guy.
Yeah, was that a real Buffalo Springfield guy? Who was that guy? The old guy?
No idea, but just like the backdrop and stuff like that. It's like, this looks like something I put together in my 9th grade television class or something like that.
It was so bad, it was good. It was so bizarre that it was entertaining. I'll give them that.
Cringe.
Dixie Chicks will probably play it straight. And maybe they'll sing their, Not Ready to Make Nice, which is a great song. They have another great song called Traveling Soldier. Have you heard that one?
I probably have it.
Yes, you like that song too.
I
used to teach these songs in class, Jared. I cannot believe you like Traveling. That's a boring song. That's like a song about war and stuff like that.
It's about a guy who goes off to Vietnam and dies, and no one even knows him except this one girl, the waitress at the restaurant he went to before he flew over to Nam. Great song. Good story. I like stories.
But I'm blown away right now. You like
I like stories. That's why I like country music. I like
commie propaganda. These commies, they don't like America. Get out. That's your policy.
Traveling Soldier. It's a good song about the military. I like.
Because you're anti-war now. Jerry Callahan 10 years ago probably wouldn't like it very much, though.
There's nothing anti-war about Traveling Soldiers. It's just an ode to one guy who goes off to war and dies. It's not about anti-war, but. Whatever. What is wrong with you? It's a good song.
Soldiers dying is bad.
Yeah, but I mean, that's part of war. The guy was a hero, and she saluted him. And she's never going to get over it. Traveling Soldier.
Point. Do you think that song is supposed to support or oppose the Iraq War, Jerry?
It's supposed to honor the guy who died. I mean, the small town guy went off to war and fought. It was in Vietnam.
You're pretending like you don't see the big picture.
God, sometimes you just got to loosen up and like the music, man.
Oh yeah, you're big on that. You're big on that. I'm blown away that Jerry Callahan is a Dixie Chicks fan.
I like those couple of songs. Yes, I do like them.
It's the Chicks now.
We'll see how they do tonight. We'll see how Joe Biden does tonight. Imagine how nervous everybody around him is. How nervous his wife/handler is. All the people invested in defeating Trump are relying on a almost 78-year-old man with cognitive difficulties to get through a half-hour speech and make people feel optimistic about his term.
And it is live, correct?
I don't think so.
You can't afford to do it live.
No, if there's any way you can tape it, you have to tape it. I mean, he's going to come out and say, "Hi, I'm Joe Biden's wife."
There's so many. My favorite Biden quote is
his sister, who's actually his wife, and then he's going to look at his wife and kiss her, and realize it's his sister. And I mean,
the thing that was my favorite. Biden
the thing is one of the great gaffes in political history. Yeah, because he's talking about the Declaration of Independence. Yeah, the thing. Oh, if only it were live, we could be sure we'd have some gaffes like that tomorrow. Unfortunately, I think it's taped, so he'll get through it, and all the media will say how wonderful it is. But then it's the Republicans' turn, and the team that gets to go second has an advantage in many ways, and they're going to do much better. I'm sure of it. They're not going to have all these crazy nut jobs.
I can't wait for the Covington kid. I cannot wait for him to speak.
Nick Sandman is speaking on tape, so he won't be screwing up either. And the McCluskeys and my girl Kim Kasich, or Case, however you say her name, Kasich, this Baltimore woman running in Baltimore, who made a video that has been seen like 30 million times walking through the city. She's running for Elijah Cummings' old seat. They've added her because of my urging, my demanding. They've added her to the schedule for the Republican convention next week, which will be good, and we'll be watching that. And They have to do better. The Democrats so far have been just flat. It's been flat.
Do you think he's going to say that if you think he's going to tell people tonight that if you're not, if you vote for Trump, you ain't black? Will we get that again?
You ain't black. Yeah, he could do that. He could say they're going to put you all back in cages.
Put you all back in chains. Put you all back in chains.
Yeah, he might kind of do some of that dialect. He does it on occasion, and maybe he'll go off script. That'd be pretty wild if he went off script. But he'll just please talk about hope and change, and he'll hate Trump and talk about mailboxes and talk about COVID and how much better he would have done, which is a lie. Controlling COVID. But anyway, we will see, and we will talk all about it next week. All right, Turtle Boy, thanks, man. Check out Turtle Boy's fine work at tbdailynews.com. You can read all about Joe Kennedy and his dear, dear friend Monica Collins Grant. Turtle Boy's totally in the tank for, like the Globe, in the tank for Ed Markey. But hey, I don't care. I don't care who wins. Unfortunately, they can't both lose.
Moist for Markey.
Thanks to DCU and Shea Concrete and Allied Paving, and thanks to all Hydrant, thanks to Raycon, thanks to all our great supporters, and thanks to everybody for listening. Good job, Callahan. I'm Jerry Callahan. This is the Callahan Podcast, and we will talk to you again real soon.